where we left off last time with reference angles. So let's dive in, see how to figure out what reference angles are, and then we're going to figure out how to use them. So here we go. Reference angles. Again, this is what lets us go into the other three quadrants. We're not going to be stuck in quadrant 1. This is let's spin in quadrant 2, 3, and 4. So it's important that you keep in mind we will always be drawing back to the x-axis. You never, ever, ever come back to the 270. It's always going to be in reference to 180 and 360, always, because that's how the bow tie works. So let's just see. Let's do this picture and then we'll go back. If you are in quadrant 1 right here, your reference angle is your angle. So if I say I have an angle of 43 degrees, that is my reference angle. I don't need anything else. So that's what this little notation means. Your reference angle is the little thing with the tick mark. This right here means reference angle. Reference angle. Okay. So if you're in quadrant 2, so say I had 120 degrees, I need something I can work with. So to get what my reference angle is, I am taking 180 and I'm going to subtract out how much I came over already. So it's 180 minus whatever my angle is. So 180 minus 120 happens to be 60. So this is going to be a 60-degree reference angle, and that would be what I could use. That would work really well. So second quadrant, you subtract from 180. Third quadrant, and this is a typo. I did this before. This is supposed to be plus sign. Excuse me. Hold up. Maybe not. No, I have it right. I keep second guessing myself. Okay, third quadrant, you've got your angle. Your angle is bigger than 180. That's what always throws me off. And I still want the difference between your angle and 180. That's why I have the angle minus 180. I'm still trying to find out what that difference is. So I've got the big one minus the little one. So an example would be, what if I'm over here at 210 degrees? I need to take this 180 off so I can find out how much this little angle is. So when you subtract them, you get 30 degrees. That's your reference angle. This is how you get it in third quadrant. Fourth quadrant is the only one that uses 360. So if I say, well, I've got 300 degrees. 300 degrees lands in the fourth quadrant. So you can say 360 minus 300. If you subtract those, you do get 60 degrees. Now I gave you some of them that were nice. Let's work with some of them that are weird, kind of like 43 to start with. I'll go backwards. So find the reference angle for each of the following. Let's just do a couple of them. 218. Okay, where is 218? I've got 180 here. Now you do need to know which quadrant, so I'm going to put the 270. Not that we're going to use it, it's just to know which quadrant we're in. So 218 is in third quadrant, right? You're wanting to know the difference of these two numbers. Well, guys, all you're doing is subtracting. Big number minus little number. So type in 218 minus 180. And that's all you need. 218 minus 180 is 38. You have a reference angle of 38 degrees. Boom. All right, if you got 140, you didn't quite get to 180. So if you subtract those two things right there, that's a reference angle of 40. 335. You're over here in the fourth quadrant. So again, big one minus little one. 360 minus 335 is 25. And 267. 267, I do believe that's way down here. Because remember, that's 270. If you go past 270, you're on the other side. So this is 267. This is 180. You never ever use 270 in your computations. 267 minus 180, it's always big number minus small, 87 degrees. That's what you do to figure out a reference angle. But we're interested in the ones that come out with 30s, 60s, and 45s, because that's what's going to be useful to us. We're going to do some of these. So it says find all the 6 trig values for 210. The first thing you got to do is draw it. Remember what I've told you before? Your work is your picture. So 210 falls in the 3rd quadrant. You might want to label it so it's a little easier to see. You know 180's up here, 210's down here. The difference is 30. Now you were supposed to remember your special right triangles. Opposite 30 degrees is 1. The other leg is square root of 3. The hypotenuse is 2. You went left and you went down. Don't forget to pause and put in your signs. They will kill you if you do not put in your signs. Once you get your picture complete, you're going to come over here and list all your stuff. We're not using theta. We're not using 30. 30 is the reference angle. We're using the angle that they asked for in the problem. So, it's just that 30 degrees is helping us get there. You know what I'm saying? 30 degrees is like our little helper. But we're really finding all this info about 210. Okay, so sine of this angle here is opposite over hypotenuse, negative 1/2. Cosine is negative square root of 3 over 2. Tangent is, oh goodness, negative 1 over negative square root of 3. Okay, my negatives cancel out, but I still have to rationalize. Square root of 3 over 3. So y'all could go through and do the reciprocals if you needed to. I'm not going to take the time to do it here. So that gives you the idea and the flavor of how this works. Let's do one more. I chose this one because the reference angle here is different. 315, 360, this gives me 45. So 1, 1, square root of 2. Pause, put in your signs. We went down. He's to the right, that's okay, he's always positive. So let's just do the main 3. I'm going to trust that you guys can go through and do the reciprocals on your own. Now if you go through and do the main 3, we've got sine is opposite. And we're shooting from here now. Negative 1 over hypotenuse, you must rationalize. And then we've got cosine, positive 1 over that. So again, rationalize. Only difference there is the sign. And tangent is going to be a negative 1. Okay? So this is a little bit different. It says find the exact value for each, but you've got to watch out for, here's the wording. When you see an exact value, that means draw and label. You're going to get it from your picture. Now these are a little bit more complicated because this is a negative angle. So this is a little bit more important than this one, so we're not going to take our time on this. The negative angle, yes, you've got to know how to do it. Remember, negative angles, you rotate backwards. You do it clockwise. So instead of doing our normal rotation, we're going to go down here. So just put your numbers in the opposite order. Just put the negative on it. Okay? You can handle that. Now, if once you see that, you know that negative 240 is somewhere in here. So negative 240. I haven't stand him up very good, did I? I need to know the difference between 240 and 180. That is 60. So you're going to label him just like any other 60-degree triangle. Square root of 3, 1, 2. Pause and put in your signs. He's left. He's up, he's good. Hypotenuse is always positive. So sine of negative 2. Oops, I don't need all that, do I? Ooh, shame on me. This asked for a specific, didn't it? Those are so much nicer. Cosine negative 240. Let's look at that. Cosine of this picture, that is going to be a negative 1 over 2. And we are done. You gotta love it when it asks for a specific. Okay, final spin on this. It's going to give you some information, and you've got to figure it out. So this right here says you're in the entire circle. So you know you're in the normal circle. You're not doing anything funky and coterminal. But this right here, you're going to have to think. Let me just rewrite it so that we can see what we're dealing with. has been done to that? I'm hoping that rings a bell. Something has happened to that fraction. He didn't start that way. That was -1 over square root of 2. I hope you look at that and you say, oh, he's been rationalized. I need you to be able to look at that and say he's been rationalized. Now, a couple of things that you need to get from this right here. That is cosine. They're telling you cosine is negative, okay? And one other thing. In the instructions, it says find all values. See that's plural? You're going to, most of the time, you're going to get more than one answer, okay? That is because cosine is negative in 2 quadrants. Now, which 2 quadrants is cosine negative in? Because if we did our little all students take calculus business, we know he's positive here and here. So he's negative here and here. Make sense? Okay. Now let's take it and let's build our, put our labels in. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, our hypotenuses are square roots of 2's. Our adjacent is a -1. It's a shared side, so that works well. I hope this rings a bell. Which kind of triangle has a hypotenuse of square root of 2? 45. Now, if you went ahead and you labeled the other side, there's no problem there. Not a problem at all if you went through and, you wanted to put the ones. It's just not necessary. What you're after, see it says find all values of theta. You want the angles where this is true. And there's 2 angles where this happens. There's the angle in the 2nd quadrant, and there's the angle in the 3rd quadrant where this happens. So, you got to tell me both. Remember, this is 180, right? So, you've got to take 45 from 180 to get the 2nd quadrant number. So, what is 180 minus 45? That would be 135. So, that's the first one, 135. And then you've got to do 180 and add 45 to it. And that's 225. Those 2 answers, those are the ones where cosine has that value. So that's how those work. Let's do one more. I've got time for one more. Oops, you can't see that. Again, it's saying in the full circle, sine is -1/2. Okay, where's sine negative? Sine's negative in 3rd and 4th. And if it's sine, that means it is opposite and hypotenuse. Opposite, hypotenuse. Hopefully it's ringing a bell that this would be square root of 3. Does that seal the deal for you? Now, which one of those angles has the opposite side as a 1? I'm hoping 30 degrees is ringing a bell. You've got to put 30 degrees in the 3rd quadrant and in the 4th quadrant. So we need to do 180 plus 30, because he kept spinning. That would be 210. And then you've got to, this one's coming off of 360. So take 30 degrees off of 360. So that would be 330. That's about as complicated as those get. It may take you a little bit of time and practice. You may have to watch those a couple of times. Hang in there.